And hello.
Hi, John.
Hey,
how are you doing?
How are you? I'm doing great. I'm doing especially great because I get to be on the show with you today. It's always fun.
Yes. That's great to hear. And welcome everybody to this week's episode of Hacking Visual Studio with Matt and John. And do you have the topic up? I'm looking at the comments here. I'm not seeing
it. Porting VS Code themes to Visual Studio.
Did you know that there's a lot of themes for Visual Studio Code, but there's not as many for Visual Studio? I think most people are aware of this.
Yeah, there are tons of themes for Visual Studio, but you're right. VS Code themes are all over the place. I guess partly because it's so easy to write them, right? It's like a JSON format, and
yep, they're easy to write, and the way Visual Studio theming works is kind of like total old school, archaic, and that's just the way it is. Like with so many different things, right? It's just hard to do, and so. In the past, we've had these extensions people have been using to generate themes and help create themes. And we had interns 2-3 years ago now creating the Visual Studio theme, what's called the theme designer. So it's an extension that lets you create a very rich theme, and you can see the changes you make as you make them. It's really, really cool. And so a lot of people actually did use that extension to create a theme and then publish that to the marketplace.
When you're talking about themes, so there's the obvious things that come to mind are like the text editor portion, right? I mean, that's the part that you interact with kind of the most. But then, like taking it to the next level, you've got all the stuff that goes on around it, the tool windows and the menu bars and all that stuff. Is that, in my experience, I see people like they'll create a theme and they'll dial in, the editor part, but they won't kind of finish it off with the rest of. I know I've kind of done that when I played with them.
Yeah, well, you can do the color theme exactly like you want. You can say, hey, I actually like the Visual Studio dark theme. So I'm going to take that, but I'm just going to change sort of the accent color from like that purplish thing to yellow because whatever, right? That's my preference. So you can do that. So the only change is that accent color. That's totally possible. So you can take something that exists and just make small modifications, and especially if you use that theme designer extension that lets you do exactly that.
Like normally we wait longer to take questions, but there's a pretty interesting one here. Does Visual Studio 2022 change much with themes?
Let's see here. That is a really good question. Let's take that. So the answer is that it makes it easier to handle themes and makes it more powerful. You can do more with a theme as a user of themes. If you're a creator of themes, Visual Studio 2022 in itself does not provide any new stuff. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to give features to Visual Studio to make it easier. Yeah, so we're gonna greatly improve the situation, like vastly. Like that's the goal. The goal is that, hey, if you want if there's a theme you like from VS Code, or you want to write a VS Code theme or whatever, porting that to Visual Studio is now going to be as easy as click of a button or snap of the fingers. So that's what that doesn't exist today, but that will exist in like an hour from now.
Wow. Yeah. History being made today. Well, you watch.
This is official business. Grace Taylor, who is the PM of Visual Studio personalization, which is kind of a strange category, but she owns kind of the color themes among other things. And she wanted me to do a video where I show how to convert VS Code themes to Visual Studio. In like a 3-minute video, how just a super quick introduction. And as I went through and so on, there's this console app or this executable that you can use that can convert. It's a CLI tool that can convert from VS Code to VS. But I felt like there was a lot of pieces of that was not easy enough. And so I said, hey, I would love to do the video, but I don't want to do what I think is too many steps. I feel like we can improve this situation greatly. And once we do, I'll be more than happy to do that video demo or walkthrough.
Cool.
And so this is official business. We are. I pitched the idea of writing an extension that will help with all this stuff, and Grace and the team was said yes, please, thank you, do that, and so here we are. Right, this is official. We are now at work for Microsoft. It is not just me goofing around writing code that don't compile. And,
well,
yeah.
one other question that's good, and a lot of time we jump right into things, but what do we mean when we say a theme?
Yes, great question. Yes, of course. Let's define what a theme is. So when you start Visual Studio, for the very first time, you're going to see a white background of the installer, right? But let's just go to my screen here. Let me show you the theme. I'll open a file.
Oh, and we can use the fancy new picture-in-picture.
Oh, so check this out. So this is what I mean. Like, there's some updates to how to use themes. So I can now go down into tools, and there's a themes flyout. It gives me all this. I can select the theme. So right now, the blue theme is what is available to me, or what I'm using. I'm clicking the dark button here. And that will change the entire color of Visual Studio, the editor, the font, everything. So that's called a theme. That's the think of it as a style sheet for Visual Studio. So if you're into web development, you have a style sheet that defines all the colors and all this sort of stuff. A theme is that for Visual Studio.
Cool. And it's like, it's easy to write it off as kind of like, oh, it's just kind of goofing around. But theme is like, when you're working for hours in a day, you know what I mean? It really can like help you get in the zone. It can help you feel more productive. It help you enjoy your work more. You know?
And it's funny, like whenever we do things like improve stuff like themes, or we did vertical tabs or color-coded tabs, a lot of people like complain why we spend time on that instead of doing fixing some bug that they find is really important. It's like, because the reason we do this is because people have been asking for this for years, and they keep asking, and it's a lot of people asking. So this matters to a lot of people. It might not matter to you personally, but it matters to many, many, many people. So
one other question I want to ask before we dig in is, so there was an event yesterday. It was Let's Learn.net, and it was looking at machine learning. And one thing that we noticed was like the machine learning, I forget what it's called, but the tool, the ML builder, didn't have like support for zooming and stuff. And what it reminded me of is that there are different, I think this has changed over time, but there are different ways that different portions of Visual Studio is implemented. Do themes kind of apply to all of them? Is that kind of, you can expect your themes are going to work everywhere, or are you going to randomly have like a window that doesn't apply a theme?
Yeah, that's funny. It's because Visual Studio is a mix and match between like WPF and WinForms and like native UI frameworks and so on, and theming applies to all of them. So there's like a color service that you use when you're, and we can look at that from how do you write an extension that when you have a tool window, for instance, or you want a dialog window pop up or whatever. How can you make sure that inherits the theme? Cool. And that's what we do internally when we build new features. We inherit the theme in our own UI representation. So
nice.
Okay, shall we get going? Let's take a look here. So here's VS Code, right? There's 6,000 themes. Now these are not all just color themes. Some of them are icon themes. Some of them are like tools that has to do with theming. But 6,000. Okay. Here's Visual Studio. We only have 110.
Oh,
that kind of illustrates the problem, I think.
Yeah.
So the provided this thing. So github.com/Microsoft/theme converter for VS. Okay. There's a link. There should be a link in the description below for this one.
Yeah.
And it is a .NET 5 project that you can compile. It shows you how to use it. And basically what it does is that it allows you to take a theme file from VS Code, export that into a JSON file, and then you run this tool on it, and it will spit out a Visual Studio compatible theme file. And there's a bunch. You see here, there's a bunch of things you have to go through, but one of them is you have to actually compile this project yourself to get the exe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is not something I think is super user friendly. That was one of my complaints with what I said. It's like, I don't think a step in doing this should be download a .NET 5 project and compile to get the exe file. Why don't you give me the exe file at the very least, right? So, but that's all fine.
That makes sense. If I develop and publish a theme and I want to add support for VS, this could be useful, but this isn't the full, like, hey, I just want to use a theme. It's a bit of extra work.
It's a bit of extra work. So I went ahead and I compiled it, and this is the output. And here's the exe file, but I actually need all these files because it's .NET 5, right? So it doesn't just compile down to I don't know.
I'm sorry. One other question that actually does seem pretty useful before digging in here, let me bring this up, is the issue of fonts. Like, so there's Powerline fonts, there's other kind of like ligatures, all that kind of stuff. Does that also apply to themes?
Fonts are set separately from themes.
Okay.
But what you can do is that you can have an extension that ships themes that also ships things that changes fonts and stuff like that.
Okay.
Selects a different font, like, because it's an extension, so you can do whatever you want. So when Visual Studio starts, it changes the font or something. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So an extension. Let's create one, and let's do one that has. Again, we're using the Community V6 project with command template here. Let's call it. What should we call this extension? It is an extension that converts a VS Code theme to a Visual Studio. Is it something as boring as theme converter?
I mean, it's obvious what it does.
Yeah, but is it obvious that it's a VS Code thing? Maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe that's in the description.
Yeah. Well, interested if people have better ideas in the comments.
Yeah.
Well, that brings another kind of newbie question. How difficult is it later to change a theme's name? Like, I can basically find replace in the project. I mean, it's a bit of a pain, but.
What do you mean, a theme's name or an extension's name?
Sorry, extension's name.
Oh, that's easy. I'll show you right now.
Okay.
Let's create this project. Alt-Enter or right-click and say properties. Here, you just change it here.
Okay.
Then the default namespaces and the V6 that's generated changes, but of course you have to change it in the V6 manifest, right? So cool. Theme converter. Here we go. So so we say a super easy way to convert VS Code themes to Visual Studio using the official CLI tool under the hood. Okay, so that's what we're going to build. So I think this description that describes what we're going to set out to do. And last week we had James was here, John. So I don't know if you saw last week, but we did a single file generator, and people were asking, "Well, what can I use a single file generator for?" This is a perfect. I think this is a perfect way of doing it. This is a perfect example of what to use, how to create a single file generator. Okay.
What's the definition of single file generator?
So a single file generator is here. Let me show you. Let me zoom in here because I have one right here. So see here, this V6 manifest. I can open it up, and underneath is a C# file. So whenever I make a change to, here's the C# file. Whenever I make a change to this one, file converter 2, and I save it, boom. My code behind file has been updated, right?
Wow.
And so if we take properties of the V6 manifest, we can see a custom tool has been set called V6 manifest generator. That's my single file generator. And that's the one that produces the C# file.
Okay.
Okay. So so we know this from Windows forms and web forms and other things that we've been using for many, many years. It's an old concept.
Mhm.
But for this, I want that to be like, hey, when I export my VS Code theme, I want to just dump it into an extension project, and then automatically have it generate the VS Code theme that I then need to include.
Okay, makes sense.
So let's create a class. Now we're going to create the single file generator. So let's call it theme generator. Or it's actually theme converter. Can I have a class name the same as my namespace? Let's try.
Yeah, you can.
Really?
Yeah, it looks a little goofy. But
I thought it was going to be complaining about that. Okay, well.
you do run into things sometimes where it'll say like you're trying to implement a namespace or whatever.
Yeah. Implement abstract class. So base code generator with site. That is our the base class that comes with the Visual Studio SDK that makes this a single file generator. And the file extension we want to produce is what's called a package def. If you've been doing extensions for a while, you probably know what package def is. Or if you've done not visual, but if you've done C++ for a while, you might know what this is. But it's a registration file that has to do with writing into the registry. A package def file. And we're going to look at that a little bit later. Okay, so basically, I have to specify what file extension should it produce. Like in this case, it produces a CS file under the V6 manifester. This is the other one, the other single file generator I showed. And then it needs to return like a byte array, right? So we need to get on that. And then we just have to register this file generator. So let's go ahead and register it just so we don't forget it. Oh, first we need to give it a name. Let's do that first. Public string name. We're just calling name of theme converter. And then do a description. Converts these code themes JSON or JSON C to package def. Okay. Now we can.
Two questions.
Yes.
Because my goal here is to interrupt you so much that you can't actually create this extension today, and it'll be a cliffhanger.
Please go ahead. Interrupt.
How do you feel about the single line namespace? I forget what it's called, but basically removing the braces and just do namespace semicolon. You need the semicolon at the yep. I kind of like it, but I don't know.
I like that I get a little bit more of my space back because I don't have the margins anymore. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't have the initial like indentation.
You're indenting the entire file just for something you're not really, that doesn't add any value to you.
I don't feel like I'm gaining much here. I think what I'm gaining is I'm gaining some indentation back. But I feel like I'm losing this strong correlation between where this class is located, like the hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with vertical space here. That's the same. That doesn't. So I don't know. If I had never done C# before, I would probably prefer the new way. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing. Yeah. You are too old to accept change, Sebastian says. Well, that may be very true. That may be very true. So I take it Sebastian likes it. The new way, that is. All right, let's actually register our single file generator before we write it, just so we don't. So we say provide code generator, and it's a type of theme converter, and it's a theme convert. We have to give it what's the name? Theme converter. Description. And do we want to generate design time source? Yes, that's exactly the purpose of this. So yes. And then let's register code base equals true. I'm not 100% sure I need this, but I've done that in the past, so I'm just going to put it here because that seems to work. So this attribute here is actually now generating the package def file that registers our single file generator. Has nothing to do with the fact that we're also generating package def, but that is what a package def is. A package def is basically something that arrives to the Visual Studio registry. Okay. So far, so good. So we need a few things. We need all those tools. So let's create a folder called tools. And since it's empty, I need to show it here. And I already have my list of tools right here. So let's just copy all that stuff in. Boop. So now we have it here. I hit F4. We're going to send the build action on all of those things to content and include in v6 to true. Now, let's just build this just to make sure that we are we're doing the right thing. Bin debug build failed. Oh yeah, because again, here we go. So here we have our v6, and if we go look at this, we can see that we have our tools, and they're all in here. Okay, so now this CLI tool is now inside our v6 container. This is called a v6 container, just a .v6 file. Internally, we call them v6 containers, and externally, I guess. Okay, so this is pretty good. This is pretty good. So let's actually go ahead. Here's what I want to do. Let's read let's read how we're gonna use this tool. Okay, so first of all, I have to here compile all the stuff. Okay, so once it's compiled, I call it here. So I can now run theme converterexe, give it an input path. Okay, that's kind of nice. I can give it an input path. So maybe we should just show it like this.
Question on this, because there's two ways you could do the probably like V1, you require downloading the VS Code theme, but you could even have a thing where you could just say, give me the URL to it. Is that true?
Well, wouldn't that be something?
That would be neat.
I don't think so. Not according to the documentation. But you can see it takes an input value, which is mandatory, and then the output value is optional. If you don't specify an output value, it will create the package def file right next to the input file. Mm-hmm. And then T is if you wanted to automatically apply that theme to an instance of Visual Studio, you can get a path to Visual Studio here, the installation path, and it will basically do that so that you don't have to create a v6 to install the extension to see what it does. And that's great if you're just using the CLI, but we have the F5 capability when we're writing a v6, right? So we're actually going to be in a better state. So we don't want to do the T. We don't want to apply our VS Code theme when we run our CLI tool here.
One thing that made obvious on the screen, there's a question about can you use .NET 5, .NET 6? You're using .NET 5 here.
The project is compiled for the .NET 5 target.
Okay.
So if you clone the repo, you can see that it literally says the target framework is .NET 5. Cool. I'm sure you can use .NET 6. I'm not sure, but I would assume.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So now we know how to call our exe, right? The CLI tool. And then it says, well, how do we get our theme file? Okay, go in and generate color theme from current settings in VS Code. All right. That's going to generate some JSON. And then we have to uncomment some of the code that's in there. Why do we have to uncomment some of the code? That's kind of why doesn't the tool just do that for me? Why should I uncomment all the code? Come on, tool. You should uncomment it for me. Make sure the JSON is valid. Yeah, that makes sense. And then save it as a JSON file for the conversion. The file shouldn't be saved as a JSON C file. So Visual Studio Code will produce a JSON C. C is for comment. But why doesn't the tool take a JSON C file? Like why would I have to manually rename it? That also seems like something we need to get rid of.
Yeah.
So we have a few tasks. We are not gonna just take the file as is. I think we need to remove the comments, and we need to be able to support the JSON C thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So in our generator class here, we get the input file name and the input file content. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna what am I gonna do? I'm gonna probably put them in a temp path. Yeah, I'm gonna create a temp folder, and then I'm gonna put the input content that I have cleaned up, that I've removed that I've uncommented. I'm gonna put it in there, and then we're gonna run the tool on that file in the temp folder. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do a temp folder. Oop. And let's see, path.combine. We want path.get temp path. Oh. Temp path. And then let's create like a subfolder called theme. Boom. Okay. Because then it's easy for me to clean that up again afterwards. Oh, that's only one parenthesis. So now I want to make sure that this folder exists. So I can say, if directory doesn't exist, directory.create. Or I can use a utility method in the package utilities ensure output path. So this one will do it for me. So this is actually something that's in the Visual Studio SDK, Microsoft Visual Studio shell.package utilities. It's just a handy little. Visual Studio is full of these little utility methods. If you don't know about what's the utility methods that are in Visual Studio, just start typing utility. Oh, utility, util. Here we go. And you can see all these. These are utility methods. Look, they're from Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio. Blah blah blah. There's a bunch of cool things, so that you don't have to write it yourself, right? COM utilities, shell utilities, color utilities. What is that? There's some new ones here in 17. It looks like file path utilities. What the hell is this? What's in here? Get file extension. Get file path. Get file path for text buffer. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Get file extension from a moniker. Okay. Anyway, that was unnecessary. I was just curious. All right. So now we need to create our file and put it in the temp folder. So let's create our temp JSON file. Oh. So again, we're gonna path combine temp folder, and let's get the file name from our input file name, right? The input file name is right up here. There we go. And now we just have to take the content of in this case the JSON file and put into our temp JSON file. So I can say file write all text, right? Write all text, and we need temp JSON. It's supposed to be temp JSON. Temp JSON, and what's the content? Input file content. Here we go. But that's not exactly what I want to do, right? Because remember, I wanted to clean it up. I wanted to uncomment. So let's create a method to uncomment. Actually, should we just take a look real quick what it actually looks like? Let's just generate a theme here, just so we are on the same page. Here, boom. This is the current theme here. You can see how these are all commented out. All these lines are uncommented, or commented out rather.
So that's the thing with JSON C. That's why it's in JSON-C format.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So like you're saying, why should we care? We should be able to handle JSON-C files as well.
Exactly. Okay. So let's call it clean JSON and then string JSON. Okay, so to clean this, I think because, that might be a nifty way of doing this. That is, hey, use JSON.net or like Newtonsoft JSON to go through and do all this. And I actually did Google for that a while ago, and I couldn't really find it. Nothing popped up. But because all these things that are uncommented are all using the double slash syntax, and they're all at the beginning of the line like this. There's no character before it. I think I'm just going to split by new line and then trim these away.
Yeah, I was going to say you could regular expression, but like you're saying, you don't even need that. You can just do a replace on new line, comma, whatever.
That's what I'm thinking, right? So I can just say lines equal, so JSON split by, I don't know, should we split by N or R? Let's just split by R like this. And then we can say, well, let's create a string builder. Because we need to put it all back together again, right? Once we've messed with each of the lines. So let's, for each line and lines.
Actually, this does seem like more work than just doing a regex replace, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know how efficient a regex replace is on like hundreds of lines. It might be absolutely just fine. System text JSON. 2 lines, one to read the JSON and one to write it. Yeah, but Sebastian, I don't want to get rid of the comments. I need to I want to keep them. I just want to remove the 2 forward slash. I just want to remove the. Here's what I want to do. I want to take all this. How do we do it? And I want to remove the. I want to what's it called? Uncomment the comments.
So it seems like you could also potentially just replace / double quote.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. See? And then double quote.
And then you need to escape. Yeah, exactly.
Let's see here. Double quote. Yep. Like this. With nothing. This is what you're saying, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of, if that may be, I mean, I guess there could be cases where, so that's why I would potentially do a regular expression, because then you'd catch like the, but that's probably fine.
Do I dare?
You totally dare. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Oh dear. Okay, so
do you want?
How do we do it? No, not now.
Okay, you're right.
Because
just do this for now.
How do you? I have to do it so that no, that's a regex option. I have to do it per line, right? So you can give this evaluator no string replacement regex options. We need multi-line. What's this evaluator? Can I not use options without? Oh, replacement. Okay. So replacement is empty. So the pattern is, okay, it has to, okay, so the start of the line, and then it's followed by white space.
White space, yeah.
As a lot of white space, I guess. And then,
yeah.
And then we have 2 forward slashes followed by this.
Yep.
Followed by a quote. I can't do that. I just do double, right? No.
Quote.
How do I do a quote? Well, hang on. Why is this complaining?
I'm looking.
There we go. You know what? I'm just going to do it like this, because we don't need to know whether it's followed by anything. It just means if it's a comment.
Oh yeah, and you don't want to replace. Yeah, you're right. So we're good.
So you're saying that this should just work just like this. Yeah?
Yes. It'll totally work.
Oh my God. That's the first time I've written a regex live on air.
I always go to the cheat sheet sites, like regex tester
Yeah.
or whatever.
All right. No, this will work. Usually the people in the comments, they find stuff.
I'm a little disappointed, comment section.
Oh. Okay. So now we have written our JSON file to disk in our temp folder. So now we need to run the executable. Okay, and the executable we ship inside our extension. It's the theme converter.exe. And so first of all, we need to find out, well, where is our extension installed into? Like, what is the actual path on disk to our extension? And so what we can do is that we can find our extension directory, and we do this simply just by get type. So this is the type of this theme converter here, assembly location. Whoop. So now we know where the location is. That points us to the DLL file. This DLL file we're working on, theme converter DLL that we're working on right now, our extension. So we want to say path get directory to get the directory of where that is. And if we look at, let's open this thing so we can see what that means. So where is theme converter.dll? It's right here. So now we find this file, and then I took the directory. That means this directory we're looking at now. And we want to go into the tools subdirectory, and there we want to find our executable, okay? So we start by getting that, and then we can get our exe file, and we simply just do that by saying path combine our directory with tools, and then what's the name of it? It was theme converter exe. All right, there we go. Now we got our executable, but I need to pass some arguments. Okay, so theme converter exe, it needs an I. But the way I actually do this is that I run. Well, okay, hang on. Before we get to how we execute or we shell into a different process, let's just get this done. So let's create our arguments. So theme converter exe, I, and then the path. And the path should always be quoted. So we want to quote it, and because let's do that, and then we put it in here. So temp JSON, now temp JSON file. Okay, cool. Now we need to actually execute this file or run the run that executable. So let's do a public. Let's move that out so we can better see what's going on. Public void run executable. And this one, we take the exe and we take the args. Should be fine. Now there's ways you can do this asynchronously, but I don't really, since that this is not an asynchronous method anyway, I think we should just go ahead and do it sort of without async. So we do a start, the new process start info. I love the way Visual Studio 2022 just automatically inserts those missing namespaces. It's just, I did not have, this is in system diagnostics. I did not have system diagnostics in my using statements. And it's just like, I don't even have to think about it. It's just fantastic. Okay, so do I want to, here's what I always do. I actually, when I have to shell out to a console lab, to a CLI, I never do that by hitting the exe file directly. I always go through CMD. So I want to start CMD like this. And then we need to set a few things. We want to set working directory. And we have our executable, so it's the parent to that. So let's get path get directory name the executable. We want to get set window style to hidden. Then we can pass in our arguments, and we got them from above. That's fine. Use shell execute. Now this we have to set all this. So create no window equals to, because we want this to happen in the background silently. The user shouldn't be able to see it. So we can do that. And then all we have to do is to start the process. So process.start, and we throw in our start info here. And I don't know, John, do you think we have to go in and say, like, wait for exit as well?
Yeah. Well, what are we doing after it ends?
I think because we're not doing any asynchronous work, isn't it by definition, if I don't need it because it will automatically, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Let's put it there. Put it there.
All right.
Okay. So now I can run my executable. Okay. And because I didn't specify output, only input up here, it will generate a package def in the same folder. So right next to this file. So now I need to grab the executable. Oh, sorry, the package def. So let's do that. So basically, it's going to have the exact same file name as the JSON input file, but with a different file extension. So we're going to go and we're going to say change extension. We're going to use our temp.json, and the new file extension is package def. There we go. And then we can read that into a byte array. Read all bytes. Goes there. And then we can do a little bit of cleanup. So why don't we remove our temp folder? Recursive to other subfolders. Well, what if someone adds a subfolder? So let's do recursive, and then we can just return our bytes.
So one minor quibble. I've been testing out the regular expression, and
okay.
I think you want to change your S plus to an S star, because it could be at the beginning of a line. Like, it doesn't have to be indented. Yeah, I think that should be good.
But I still don't know with the multi-line how that.
Multi-line should be good. The other thing is I put square braces around.
Oh, no, you're right. That's exactly what I need to do. Square brackets.
And then, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I think that should be right.
We're saying, well, actually, hang on. We're going to say there could be.
So star means can be. So I don't think you need a question mark. I think you need a star. That means any number, including 0.
Including 0?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't need this. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the one.
Yep. I think that should be good.
Okay. So let's run this. I want to. I'll see what happens. I'm gonna put my. Oh, now I don't get. How do I? Well, okay.
And there is some IntelliSense stuff for regular expressions in Visual Studio, but it kind of depends what you're doing. Yeah.
Right.
I've got one comment that just came up. I wanted to. Well, no, never mind. There's a question about Visual Studio for Mac, and the one thing, at least currently, this port Visual Studio for Mac is actually using native Mac OS code, so it's not a Mac port of the entire Visual Studio. It is Visual Studio for Mac as being optimized for Mac in that case. I don't know. Probably said that as poorly as possible, but
yeah, there's someone saying there's a regex simulator on the web. Yeah, there's many. Regex Hero is one I used in the past a lot. Was that a Silverlight app back in the day? Anyway, there's a bunch. There's also extensions that helps you write them.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. I write once or twice a year, but for the right things, it's like it. The other thing that is a little frustrating is regular expressions it's very terse, but it's not very self-explanatory. I've used libraries that actually add like a fluent interface over regular expressions, and then nerds hate it, but you know what I mean? So you can say like start of line dot add 3 spaces dot whatever. You know?
Right. Yep.
It's basically like a DSL for.
So this theme, what should we call it? Let's call it John.
All right.
Okay. And I'm just saving it straight into V6 Project 33, which is the thing I opened here. So that's our test from last week, I think. Yeah, why not? Let's just use that. I have the debugger attached, so we should. Nice one, Steven. Oh dear.
What's going on?
I was deleting some files and I shouldn't have, because now it's just like busy on doing something. It's always when the debugger is attached, it always slows things down significantly. Okay, so now we have John and then Jason C. Like here, let's include that in the project. Boom. All right. Let's open it up. And see, we got everything here is commented out. It's called JSON C.
Yep.
Okay. So now I'm going to take the properties of our new JSON C file, and I'm going to write theme converter. And why is it I'm going to write theme converter? Is it the class name or is it the namespace of our project? What am I referring to? Oh, it already hits it.
Crazy.
Okay. So it hit the input. So input file, here we have our JSON. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, here we have all the commented out stuff. So I'm going to just F10. So let's take a look, shall we? So let's write clean JSON input file content. Will it just spit it out here in the intermediate window? Yeah, it will. Oh, that wasn't super helpful. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to write, where's the cursor? Here it is. So var, no, I have to do it that way. Here I see, it didn't work. Look. It's a tab. There's tabs.
Tab is white space?
Yeah, that should be fine.
I wonder if it's the slashes, if they need to be like escaped or something.
I think it's the whole multi-editing thing.
So I'm doing a regular expression tester with C# and it's working. But I did it slightly different. But
now it will probably fail because it fails to generate the package def, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just reading the package. I don't even check if the package def exists or not. I should probably do that before I read the bytes. Okay, well, okay, let's work on that. Let's totally do the regex solution. Let's find that, and in the meantime, let's do the.
Can I one correction, one minor correction on the regex? No. If you so inside the square brackets, get rid of the 2 backslashes and make it just 1. Oh
dear, you're right, because we put that thing in.
Yeah.
Okay. So this time I'm not going to attach the debugger. I'm just going to control it.
You're just going for it, YOLO.
Hey, here's a KC Collective saying that JSON C is so convenient. Just having comments available makes mapping JSON files so much better. You know, I've never really understood why people don't just put comments in JSON files.
Well, that is the thing.
I don't understand it. Why don't you just do it?
I mean, I guess it's slightly less. Like you basically just create a property or whatever. Or you can create an empty name and then give it a.
No, John. That's not what I mean. I mean, why don't people just put / comment in their JSON files? It's only for places where the parser of that JSON file cannot handle comments. So, for instance, a web API, you cannot, right?
Yeah.
Like for JavaScript consumption, or whatever, it does not handle that. So don't do it in those situations. But if you have a configuration file in JSON and the parser you're using JSON.NET to read it, well, JSON.NET supports, like, you can ignore comments, right? So why not just do that? People always say JSON don't support comments. Like, yeah, they do. The parsers, JSON itself, I don't know, it doesn't according to the RFC and all that sort of stuff. But if the parser does, then in all practicality, it supports it, right? So
yeah, I guess so. That's true. I've just put in, like, I'll put in a meaningless property that is a comment. You know what I mean? Because you can put any string in you want.
I mean, the latest JSON schema has like underscore comment as being a thing.
Yeah.
Or is it dollar comment? Okay, theme converter. So now it should run. If it doesn't work, John, it didn't work.
Didn't work.
Didn't work.
So sad.
Yeah, that is really sad.
All right. Well, can we see the code? Maybe it wasn't my regular expression.
No, it might not be.
It might be at a breakpoint. Oh no.
I don't know what's going on now. Annoying the Windows 11 doesn't have that shortcut to.
I know. I do that all the time. So you can do Control-Shift-Escape, but
Control-Shift-Escape.
That pops up the task manager.
That's not really convenient.
No, it's not.
Like, I'm doing that with my fingers now. That's kind of a weird stretch.
I use the task manager all the time too.
Yeah, I mean, developers, right? That's what we do. Okay, where do we? This is where we create a string builder. Oh, did you see this? Check this out, John. I misspelled string builder. I wrote string builder, and it's still
like,
got it
nope.
right. That's wonderful. For each line and lines, we're gonna create a clean line, which is basically line, and we're gonna trim the white space away from it, and then we're gonna trim the start. We're gonna trim forward slashes from the beginning here, like that. And then we're gonna append this to the string builder. Boom, 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 and then we can return string builder to string. Okay. Now, is this right? Is this theme converter this? Oh, I forgot. It was, that might actually have worked. I have to call it like this because I call CMD. So basically what I'm doing is I'm shelling to CMD, and I have to do whack C first. I think there's a different one, whack C or whack K. It has to do with whether to leave it open after it's running or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's going to work. And then let's try the regex afterwards. I just commented it out so we can just move it back in.
It's hard to let it go.
I think a plus should be fine.
Yeah.
Instead of a star.
The
star is greedy. The plus is not, right?
It should be fine, but if a line starts with no spaces, if you do a plus, I think it requires one or more.
But that's why I wanted the
star.
The question mark. Question mark says, hey, if there's, it's okay if there's no white space, then just whatever.
Now, okay.
No, you're right, because there's always white space. Okay.
So star means 0 or more. Plus means 1 or more. And question mark means 0 or 1.
Yeah. I see.
Whoa, I want to frame this one. Yes.
Okay, theme converter. I'm gonna hit enter, and then we'll see it. You ready? Come on, come on. No. Yes. Yes.
It worked.
Boom.
We have live regular expression success.
Does this really work? Is
I
this?
don't know.
Let's open it. Why is this not colorized? Look how weird this is. There's a few of them that are not colorized.
What the?
My regex here. So I wrote this TextMate bundle that colorizes this, but apparently not very well. Why is there no?
So
why is this one different than this one? Okay.
I don't know, but this is the syntax for.
This is a package def file. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the key in the registry. So we have our root key. That's the Visual Studio, where the Visual Studio hive starts, if you will.
Okay.
And then you have your sub keys under. So we're going to register a theme. It's going to give us this GUID here. And name equals John. It's based off of some other theme. So there's a fallback ID. And then look at all this. Look at all these values. Like, there's no way you can write this yourself, right? So compare compare these two ways of doing themes.
Well, okay. So why is it a registry based thing? That seems...
Just because that's how the theming worked from back in the day when Visual Studio was created, like in the 90s or whatever, like okay. Or when, I don't know when the theming stuff came in, but actually there's something called VS Theme. There's an XML format that you can then install a NuGet package called Theme Compiler, V6 Theme Compiler or something from Microsoft, that takes any VS theme file and then produces a package def file like this.
Okay.
So it's kind of similar to this, except that this one has a bunch of individual, like here, what? Individual settings, like several hundreds, right? But the Visual Studio one has many thousands of tokens that needs to be colorized. So that XML file is pretty ridiculous. So anyway, so what the tool does, it takes like this, say, oh, activity bar background, say, oh, this one, I will map that to like 4 different tokens in Visual Studio. And so the tool, so they do this mapping. They've done this mapping so we don't have to worry about that. That's why it works.
Wow. Okay, so I'm a package def file. How do I become a theme? Am I a theme? Can you?
Yeah. So now it's a theme. Now we just need to register that. So we're going to go into our V6 manifest. First of all, we're going to F4. We're going to say that our package def file. Oh, actually, maybe we don't have to include it in our project, but we have to say that we're going to add a new asset of this VS package. So package def file is a package, or rather, a package class. We always think of an extension package as the class, the base class of something, right? But it actually just compiles into a package def file. Oh.
It should be a file, right?
A file in the file system. And see here, it automatically finds the package def file. And I think it might also say that it included in V6 true. Yep. So it automatically fixed up this thing. So now I'm going to, I wonder if this will compile. I mean, I don't know if this particular V6 project 33 compiles. Let's see. And I should be able to select the John theme.
I hope the John theme really takes off.
It says John. Let's click it. Boom. Oh my!
That's amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
That's pretty great. Okay, so wait, you had to do a few manual steps there.
Yes, and so we want to reduce the manual steps needed.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did was I manually had to go into the JSON C file. I manually had to go in to the JSON C file and write it in the custom tools. So let's fix that.
Yep.
And another one was that if I add a JSON C file, it doesn't automatically do the right thing. So let's start with actually going in and registering our so JSON-C files. When I add a JSON-C file, that automatically gets the theme custom tool added. So I'm going to provide code generator extension. Ooh. And what's the name of the code generator that it should add to the custom tools? Name right here. And the extension we're interested in is JSON-C files. And then we can specify a project system. But we only want this to happen in a V6 project. And because the toolkit project is awesome, I have project types, and I have one called extensibility. Look at all these project types. These are project types of all the different types of projects in Visual Studio.
Yes, Zune. Do you see at the bottom? There was Zune.
Ah, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so the workflow here, if I want to import a VS Code extension, I need to download the file into my project and then right click and do this stuff.
Yeah,
you could have an extension. You could have it provide a UI where it's basically browse for the file, right?
Yeah, that's true. But what I want is I want to be able to right click the file and then click add. Here, there's one here. You're synchronized to code file. That's one. I want to mine say convert to Visual Studio theme.
Okay.
Convert to Visual Studio theme. And I think the moniker we want to use is something color. Do we have color? Theme color palette.
That looks nice.
Okay. Kind of that thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want to throw it into the custom tool. So where do I have a file? So let's figure out where do I have I have some code somewhere we can use. So that's in V6 Synchronizer. Let's pop that open and check out how I did that. Oh, that's the old way before we had the new. Okay, item include exclude. Okay, and no group. Okay, so let's do main menu. Let's see. We have something called include exclude group. Node include exclude. That sounds right. So node refers to the node in Solution Explorer. Solution Explorer node. This might potentially just work. And then my command, what I want to do here is, do I also have code for this one? Let's see.
Okay, well, so I think I asked my question before, and maybe I'm feature creeping, but I would feel like the way I would normally want to use this as a Visual Studio user is I wouldn't necessarily want to, I just want my extension to have a UI where I basically pick a Visual Studio Code theme and it basically converts it for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I get that.
So, but
I just want to make sure, and that's a fine thing to add.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that we also get this in there too. So if you just have the JSON file, that you can just right click and say, "Hey, go." So okay, so in this case, what's the name of that project we did last time? Update modify.
Mads extension project 458.
Yeah. What did we call it? Okay. So what I want to do is close down this one. So this one worked, right? We're happy. We're happy now. We just need that. Okay. So when someone right clicks, we just put our button from our VSCT here. We just put our button here, in the include exclude group. This is the include exclude group right here. And so I want it. So let's get that file. So we can say, so let's say JSON-C, right? So file equals await vs.solution get active item async. That's our active item. And that is a physical file. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because what I want to do now is I want to say JSON-C dot set a property. But it has to be a file. Physical file. Now I can say try set attribute. Okay. Custom tool should now be theme converter.name. You see?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, but I don't want this to be visible on all nodes, only on ones that are JSON-C. Maybe JSON and JSON-C. Should we do both?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do JSON also.
Yeah, okay. So then we need to say that this is, put a command flag here that says that this is dynamic visibility. And then we can go in, I need to create a new GUID. Let's create a GUID here for, what they call it? It's called visibility. That's not the best GUID in the world, I admit. But we're going to use it because we're now going to write a visibility constraint. So our GUID is theme converter. Our ID here is my command. And the context is visibility. Boom. Okay. So what context? It's just a GUID. That's right. We haven't created the context. So let's create the context. So we go to the package class. And for this one, let's just go and search for provide UI, no, custom UI rule Visual Studio. There we go. UI based, blah, blah, blah. There's some examples at the bottom, I think.
This is interesting. This feels like more work than I would have expected a little bit.
Like, yeah, it would be nice if this was kind of easier.
Yeah. So you could basically say this applies to this list of file types.
Yeah. So JSON-C expression. We're just going to call all these JSON-C. And here, JSON-C. We can even say that the C is optional, right? Don't do a delay. That makes no sense here. So now that thing should only be visible on JSON-C files or JSON files, theoretically. Let's see if that's true. And then when I click it, set the custom tool automatically. Okay, so let's remove the custom tool and see if it works. You know, your idea is really, really good. The only issue is the marketplace does not have an API, as far as I can tell. But you could also argue, like, if you could do that, then you could just automatically convert every single VS Code theme. Like, if you could create a server script or whatever that will install every single VS Code theme into VS Code, then export it, and you could basically just create a theme pack that has like 5,000 themes in it.
That is awesome. Okay. I'm trying to look because I would think.
Okay. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove. Okay. So it automatically removed the generated file. That's cool. So now if I right click a class CS file, I don't see my thing. This is a JSON-C file. Boom. Convert to Visual Studio theme. I'm going to click it. And what happens? Absolutely nothing. Why not? Why didn't anything happen? It's like I'm not handling the command. Okay. Well, that's stupid. I don't know. I could have set a breakpoint. I don't know why I didn't. Am I running? I am registering the commands. I'm getting the my command. My command is defined here. This is my command. Okay. Well, dynamic visibility seemed to work. Custom tool with capitals. Yep, that could be it. That could be it. That seems unlikely. That would be sad if that's the case, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Austin says here that the V6 publisher does not support the theme subcategory. That's really that's a bug. Is this? Did you open a bug on this by chance on developer community? Developercommunity.visualstudio.com, because that needs to be added. Like that seems like a super trivial thing for them to just add, but it might actually be it might also be a marketplace thing. They don't support it. Okay, let's try this again. Right click, convert to this thing. No, nothing. That's weird. Okay, let's attach. All right, let's do it again. So it is hitting it. JSON is a physical file. Yeah. Let's see what I get back here. The Boolean. Try set. Is it because it has to be? Oh, why can't I use this? It has to be okay. I just want to see what it returns.
So
I've used this before though, so I'm confused.
So I have a question. I'm looking at Visual Studio Code themes on the marketplace, and there is a download extension, but it downloads as a V6. I guess maybe, so is it basically just a V6 that contains the JSON-C file?
I guess. Oh, that V6 is that for VS Code?
Yeah.
Open it. Do you have 7-zip installed? Just right click and say, or rename it to .zip and just open it.
All right.
So this isn't that exactly what I'm doing? Get active item async. Get active item async. Physical file.
Wow.
Well, that's what they call bizarre. Oh, this is good to have. We need to have that in here too. Okay. I'm confused. Custom tool. Is it one? What if it's just one word? Yeah. All right. Well. Well, this is the old. No. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I think we have it here. So now, folks, this is how I do it. So we just need this extension. to be published. So let's get a new icon. Should we give it the same icon? The color palette? Is that a good enough icon? It's a good enough icon for now, right?
Yes. For now, yes.
Yeah. Theme converter, resources, icon, boom. Okay. So we're good to go. We're good to go there. A few things I want to do is I want to go. That was theme converter. Let's do another one. Reset tool. I'm just going to grab another one. So we need git attributes, license, readme. We need all these files. Theme converter, and we need to drop them here. We can then add. Let's add existing items. We want our readme and app.var files in here. Inside my resources, I want to add my license file. So existing item, theme converter, and all files. And I have a license file. And I want to add this as a link. There we go. That means I have to manually go and say that this is a content file, and including v6 true. So now in my v6 manifest, I can specify resources, license, tags here as v6. It's not super important. v6 themes, say. All right. So far, so good. That's all up there. Do we have a build going? Yeah, that looks right. 2020. Okay. So last thing I want to do, I want to close down Visual Studio. What I always like to do is that I like to rename my project folder to source. And something's got a handle on it. I'm not sure what it is. What is having a handle on it? Oh. Close all that stuff. It might be MS Build still running. I'm going to use your keyboard shortcut here. Oh, Control Shift Escape. Man, that's
Control Shift Escape, yeah.
Okay, MS Build. No MS Build. Do we have a Visual Studio? Dev and Vexy.
Is it in console?
I closed them all down. Oh, well. We're just keeping it there. That's okay. That's okay. I can do that later, after the fact. So, let's see here. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost ready to build this. So I want to add this to source. I want to create a repository and then just publish this to the GitHubs. Hello. There we go. Theme converter. Create and publish. Boom. So let's go see what's going on up there.
I did not realize the resource monitor will show you who's locking a file.
Oh. Not publishing? What's going on? There it is. Sweet.
Nice.
This repository is empty. That's okay. So that means that it's currently publishing. I guess there's a lot of files, right? Those .exe files were a little big.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That is totally okay. And so now I'm setting up, like, I want to set up my CI pipeline to start producing. I really need to. Oh, my README file should definitely be updated. Okay, I want to take this, update my v6 manifest. Always put a link into our repo here, more info URL. There we go. And then README, let's update that. What's it called? VS Code theme converter for VS. And we can just say Coming soon. And we're going to take the ID and I'm going to put that into my CI build. Always has the ID there. Boop. Okay. So what do we call theme converter? So I'm trying to find theme converter. Theme converter. I'm going to add that. There it is. Add it to AppVeyor. When I'm in AppVeyor, I always go down and grab the badge. Hit F7 in the browser. That lets you select text super easily. Oh. Then F7 again to disable the sort of text selection mode. I think that works in all browsers. And so that's my build status. I'll put that there. Boop. Okay. Added a build badge. So now, and control enter automatically pushes, like commits and pushes, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yep. So now this should flow. I should put things into the V6 gallery. And once it does that, and I put in a what's it called? Good description, maybe some screenshots, make it. Well, that was quick. What happened there? Oh yeah, we don't call it source. We call it theme converter, right?
Uh-huh.
I wasn't able to rename it. I'll also rename it. That's on the to-do. But the idea is that once we get this extension out there, then you can just install it, and then you're good to go. I'll do a video at some point on how to, end to end, install the extension, go to VS Code, export your theme, copy that file in, and boom.
You are right. That is interesting. You could do something where you grab the top 100 VS Code themes and just convert them. That could be pretty interesting.
So if people want an excuse to write extensions or they're running out of ideas, take your favorite themes or just any theme. So global using directives are C#10.
So it says you can do it, but just in AppVeyor, I think you need to.
But I've done it before. Maybe have I not?
I think you just need to set the preview for AppVeyor. So.
But it is. I have.
Oh.
Like that should be in the templates already.
So, and is there a reason you're using AppVeyor as opposed to like the GitHub Actions?
No. Well, yes. It's just something I just wrote this a long time ago, and it works, and it makes my workflow super simple. And I have never gotten to do the GitHub Action stuff, and it kind of bothers me a little bit. But I will say GitHub Actions is a lot more verbose. Like the stuff I need to write in a GitHub Actions pipeline file is like a lot, I feel like.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a whole like Docker thing, and I usually will go and copy an existing one and tweak it,
No.
By the way, a question came up. You can run C#10 preview in 2019. I think we did this previously in a video. I talked you into it, right? In VS 2019, you can do C#10 preview.
I think so. Yeah. All right, John, I'm looking at the CS project file here. Lang version, latest. It says latest.
Yep, that's it.
Should that say preview instead? Because in 2022, latest means C#10.
So yeah, you should do preview.
Oh, what's going on here? Oh, conflicts. Reload all. Will it now compile in 2022? Da, da, da. using preview link features.
Yeah.
I think it's going to work just fine.
As well. So, well, it's compiling. Just random question. I've been doing some docs and tutorials for .NET 6, and a thing I'm running into is the default project templates now have nullability turned on by nullable checking by default. Have you run into that yet? So I'm having, before it was like, I knew I could enable it in my projects if I wanted to, but if you do file new project now, it's got null checking on by default, which is forcing me to write better code, but it's also more frustrating because it's like, for instance, if I create something and the constructor doesn't verify that I'm actually creating an instance, then it'll throw a warning.
I don't know. We had this discussion like a while ago here on this show. James had some opinions, I think, and the audience came in with a bunch of opinions. I think what people are saying, like if you're writing a library, the nullable is a really, really good thing. Like that's, a library that's going to be used by others and has to be pretty proof. But if you're using like your client code, is it too heavy-handed to use something like nullability?
I don't have a good opinion yet because I'm just getting started with it. I am realizing when I do file new and I create a new web project, right? Yeah. It's got null checking on by default. And then it does point out to me cases where it's like, oh, shoot, I'm calling this method and assuming it'll work. But if the method doesn't return an instance or doesn't find something, and it's forcing me to actually write better code. I think it's fine if you do it from the start. But I've also like, for instance, on the .NET website, I've talked to Myra about this, turning on nullability on the .NET website. There's a lot of code there. And so that's actually a big task to do,
Huh. What's going on here with this PDP? Oh, see, it just keeps on giving. So I don't know if you noticed here. So the problem is now it looks like it's going to work just fine. But this, you see that dot here? It's ignored. A PDB file is automatically ignored. But I don't want it to ignore this particular file. I want this particular PDB to be in the release. So I'm just going to remove PDB completely from here because okay. I think that's fine, right? Yeah. Because I already exclude like bin and obj.
So I missed that. Why do you need the PDB file?
Well, let's see here. Let's see what it said. Here, it could not find. Oh, 2 minutes.
Why is it looking for it?
It could not find the file. So inside the v6, it couldn't find the PDB. It's because it's registered as it needs it. Actually, it doesn't need it. Now, that's just silly. It was because it was an output artifact when I built it. Yeah, I'm just going to delete that. It's going to make the extension smaller. Let's just nuke that thing. It doesn't need it. Removed.pdb. But let's see if this actually builds first. It might. It might. Are there any other questions or comments? Look, it's working.
Wow.
It is working.
I think it should include the John theme by default. Just that's me.
V6 gallery. Boom. Theme converter.
Oh.
Beautiful. Let's see, how big is it when we compile it for release? 600K.
What's going on there?
Well, it's because of all those tools. But let's remove the PDB file and see how far down we go. That should get us down a little bit. But I mean, that's not bad.
That's not bad
because we're bringing a lot of tools with us, right?
That's right.
XDs and DLLs and stuff that are, yeah. And I'm like so perplexed by why my command did not accurately
Why it didn't
Set the
show?
custom tool.
Yeah.
Because maybe it had set it before or something. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Okay, so now it ran again. Okay, 634. Okay. 634 is the size of the V6. It's by no means the largest nor the smallest V6 on the marketplace.
Now there's like assembly trimming stuff. Is there? I've been mostly focusing on how that applies to like web apps. I thought that was You can turn on. Yeah.
I don't know, and I also don't know. Do we need all these things? I don't know. Like, are we hitting all the code paths that need all these things? Yeah. So if there was like a tree shaking thing, right, or trimming.
So you can do that as part of the publish. Like if you do right-click publish, but I don't know how you invoke that in like an AppFigure script or something.
No, because that doesn't matter because I would have to do it on the CLI project when I build that, right?
Yep. Well, you could do that if you wanted. I mean, this is absolutely scope creep, but
I could do that, yeah.
Good. So in the CLI project, when you do I think you do right-click publish or something, and then you go through the steps.
And you can publish to a folder. I didn't see anything there that said trim or tree shake or whatever we call it these days, whatever the kids call it.
I've been checking out. Let me see. Does it do this? There's a thing where you can search for file handles with the resource monitor. I've been playing with that in the background, but I'm not sure. I don't think I'm doing it right.
Okay.
That'd be handy.
Oh, it's probably fine. Okay, so yeah, that command. I'm not sure why that was, but whatever, man. I think we have a show. I think we're online, right? We put it up on GitHub so people can check it out. Where do we put it?
I should get the link to it here.
Mads Kristensen, github.com/MadsKristensen/theme converter. And if you want to just use it right away, go to v6gallery.com and just download it. It's right here.
All right. Sure.
Yep.
We'll get these links out. Okay, wait just a sec. Gotta share the links. They're the grand finale.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that and the V6 gallery.
Christopher says, in the example you looked at, and the attribute was all lowercase. Might that be the reason? No, because it was all lowercase in the. I started with it being lowercase and then I uppercased it. So I tried that already.
All right, that is quite a show. That was some really good stuff.
Cool, and we got everything up. We got the links up. We got the whole thing up.
All right. Yeah. So I'm already thinking scope creep, but for the first thing is I got to try it out with some of my favorite themes.
Yeah,
this is very cool.
Right. And I'll put it up on the marketplace, and I'll send out a tweet when it's available on the marketplace for everyone to use.
Cool. Last question I've got.
Yeah.
Next week, do you have a show next week? Because it's right before all the super busy November .NET Conf and VS Code or VS Launch and all that.
I think I do, but maybe I don't. Maybe I need to. Let me check up with James.
Okay.
Maybe I don't. Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, I will play the thanks for watching video, and we will wave.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you maybe next week or maybe the week after.
All right. Thanks.